One. Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks podcast with your host Catriel. This season, for season 3, we are going through the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series, and we are interviewing all of the different practitioners for the series. Today, we have Sherri Keenan with us, who is our Sagittarius in-person practitioner. That is a mouthful. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Hi, Catriella. So nice to see you.
It's great to see you. So, Sherri has actually been on 2 previous podcasts in, I believe, season 1. And it's just, we've had so many in-depth conversations, and I'm very excited to see where things go for this podcast with the framework around the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. But for those who have not checked out those 2 podcasts, we're going to give a little bit of background about Sherri. So, tell us a little bit about your journey and, anything you'd like to share.
Catriel, my journey. For this specific topic, it was really important to me to connect with where I'm at and where I've come from. And I'm really walking a deep, quiet spiritual path. And this is why this is um, such a great topic. And Sagittarius is it's such a great time for offering this, because a lot of the things that I've learned have come from times of resting and from nurturing myself in darkness and in times where maybe you wouldn't feel like you would come out on the other side. The topic of or the story, the offering that I'm giving is an oral telling, storytelling. And what I'm covering for our series is going to be the emergence of the Lakota people and the story of Wind Cave. And I'm really excited to tell this story. And the reason that it's so connected to me is the sacredness and the opportunity that I've had to connect with through the Lakota people through ceremony. And I really wanted to do something different and to have these stories be told. And I thought as a special gift, I would also tell the story of Devil's Tower. There's just really so many connected opportunities between the stars and the Lakota people and the opportunity to really practice in a sacred way.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Lakota beings and like your experience? Like how before meeting the Lakota people, how did that transform like how you see life?
Okay, so I'm from South Dakota, so there was never a time where I wasn't around people who are Native American. It's just been
Hmm.
you know, I don't know how to it's I think when you're in Florida, it seems all very mystical, but my stepfather grew up on the Rosebud Indian Reservation, and my stepbrother still lived there. My
Wow.
my uncle's wife was is full-blooded was she passed away. I'm so sorry. And so is full-blooded Lakota, and her dad was actually was a teacher in school as well. And so it's just a very different experience. But I actually went to prison in 2010. I'm like, gosh, it just feels like, no, 2013. I'm so sorry. It's been 10 years. It feels so crazy to me. But during that time, I was offered the opportunity to attend ceremony and get
Mm.
connected in a way that I never understood, and was just continuously told from then until now. Even though I feel like sometimes I should pull away and practice other things, I just keep getting pulled back, and I'm continuously told by friends and elders, because you really need to listen, and I'm meant to just be where I'm at, and it's okay. It's about that connection and that spiritual connection and what that means, and honoring and being respectful and and how you can give back and how you can return these gifts. And um, through the oral storytelling I feel like it's such an important way to keep stories going, especially because I do live in Florida and there are so many things being changed in history here because of the powers that be. And for me, it's very important. This month, I'm going to be doing a story on the ghost dance and wounded knee. And that's particularly important for me because of everything that happened, the story that connects to there from the 1800s, from this amazing thing that crossed tribes to Leonard Peltier being seeking clemency again in 2024, and him being from the Oglala Sioux tribe and being here in Florida now, waiting once again for parole. So there's just so many reasons that these stories and throughout the year I've created a monthly journey, and I'm going to be including that in yours as well. I have some surprises coming for you for our night, just to make it really special in getting a deep connection. And for next month, I'll be doing a hollow bone journey with your session. And this month, we're doing a uniting the breath, just trying to figure out ways to bring together. And over the year, doing different stories that do include not only Lakota tradition, but other traditions that have been forgotten and things that are truth in history that maybe we haven't learned about. Some topics will be a little hard to hear, but they're all stories that have deep and true meaning. And I just feel blessed to have heard them and being able to share them in any small way.
I love that. I love that. Um, I really have a deep connection with Native American beings. Like it's a small part, but still there. Small part Cherokee. And my grandfather recently passed, and who was of that lineage. And it's been interesting to see how nature, animals are and my experiences, like especially when someone just passes, how they come to you in different ways. And one of my journeys last week, um to start off the whole Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series, I was doing a sound journey for Scorpio. And the one thing that I felt so called to have there was my grandfather's rain stick. But my grandfather's rain stick, I took it up to my brother's house up in towards northern Florida. And I was like, I need that. And so I was like, I didn't care what was gonna happen. Actually, it was so funny. When we talk about Sagittarius, Sagittarius is all about taking journeys. And I was like, my little buddy Mac, he's in from Texas, and I was like, all right, you're a Sag, come with me. Let's take a journey. And we like had this quest. Like the quest was to find the sacred rain stick. And it's like funny how we can like tell, a story. Like Sagittarius is the storyteller. And like how like it could have as simple as been as we need to go get a rain stick. But no, it was like how we framed it. We wanted a quest. We wanted it to be fun and engaging. And so we got up there, and that, like even with that, it's like Sagittarius is the eternal optimist. I knew there was a good chance when I got up there because it's kind of like in a wooded area and everything like that. There's a good chance that we wouldn't have been able to find it. But when we did find it, it like all kind of came together as one. And I found out that it wasn't actually playable. Then we started to look at it a little bit deeper. I don't know if you know anything about a rain stick, but The rain stick has these little like seeds, almost look like spines that, are internal into it. And it started to actually, because it sat outside for years, I found out the seeds, little, what do you call it, cacti, um, like started to grow through the rain stick. So it transformed.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, my grandfather, like, he would have made art out of this. Like, that's what he loved to do. He loved to just put his 2 cents on it. And I feel like from, in a sense, that was his way of showing me. He's like, because I felt his spirit come through and be like, you need this rain stick. And like at first I was a little disappointed because I was like, I can't play this at the at the sound journey. But it wasn't about that. It had nothing to do with playing the actual rain stick. It was the story of it. It was the connection with his spirit. And then to put icing on the cake for this week, um, Tuesday was actually a very important day for me. My grandfather, who just passed, his name was Phil. He his birthday was this would have been this Tuesday, but my in Judaism we have what is called a yard site, and it's like an we it's like a some people look at it as a celebration or an observance of the being who's passed on, and we say a special prayer. Well, that day was my other grandfather's, my dad's dad, um, his yard site on the same day, and I'm like, this is. And I woke up. I will tell you, I hadn't been to morning prayer, with a group for a while, and I felt so called to go. And when I got there, they asked me to say a few words about my grandfather, and they asked me, or the guy who asked me to do so, his name was Eddie, and that was my grandfather's name.
Mhm.
And then, um, when I get to the later on, I went throughout my journey of the day, and I was supposed to find out, like see if the particular location that I was checking out for Libra class, if that was the right location. And they asked me to stay a little longer if I wanted to attend their sound journey. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I felt like, yeah, I need to allow myself to receive. Like, I got to help lead the one for Scorpio, but could be a little bit of continuation. At the end of that journey, they took out a rain stick and started playing it. And I had to tell them, like, hey, this is super special. This is amazing that this happened. And the guy who played, he says, what was your father or your grandfather's name? I said, Phil. And he's like, that's my name. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it's really interesting to see how even in the great beyond, one of the most Native American principles is like honoring our ancestors. They're here with us always, even if like we don't think so or we don't feel them. Like that was a way to show me like we're here. So I'm just like, that's where I'm coming from. Like, have you ever had an experience like that? Like,
Well, I have, but the thing that I'm seeing like with that
yeah.
is that, in the in Native American Lakota tradition, right? We're all related to things. And
Mm.
so as you're talking about this rain stick, all I see is that you get to see how alive it is, and how it is like such a living thing, even though you thought it was one way, right? It is such a living entity and such a beautiful thing. And such a beautiful reminder of that the star people from to the look at the plant people, look at all of the nature and beauty that came from that. And yes, being able to tell the story of our past is, I mean, it's so beautiful. And when you get like that affirmation of things, it just feels so divinely sacred, and you feel so connected to creator in the mystery of things. And it just really is a lovely experience, because you really feel, like affirmed, like heard by the universe,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like it definitely had to do like because there's okay, let's get into the planetaries of things right now. There's a lot going on. I don't
It's a
know
full
about
moon.
you.
It's a
It's
full
a
moon today.
full moon in Leo.
Yeah.
We last week, like Sunday, I should say, not even a full week yet, but we had well, Saturday night technically, we had Aquarius go, we're in the season of Aquarius. And then we also have um, you know, yeah, Pluto, that is the planet of transformation, entering Aquarius. And the last time we saw that was during the Revolutionary Wars. Like, and that's epic. And then we also have like there's so many different things going on, and how that relates to right now is like I feel like time is speeding up. It really
Yeah.
feels like there is something going on here. I mean, like if I looked at like 2 weeks ago, everything was just kind of like, all right, going from one thing to the next, and it was great.
Yeah.
And then the next, like last week and this week is like, oh my gosh, it's a freaking marathon. Like I gotta go here, I gotta go here, here, and then like you start to be like, okay, how can I find like balance in the rhythm of what's happening right now? Where can I take a deep breath? How can I create space for myself? All these different things are kind of going on. And like I honestly, I feel like it was at the exact moment that I went to go grab the rain stick.
you know, this is so funny, because it's kind of like realizing that the everything is actually happening around you, right? And this is where the Sagittarius comes in, and I think is really special, because if you're talking about the nurturing darkness, and like thinking about Sagittarius being the only fire sign in the winter. Everybody else gets like spring and summer, but really like sitting in your fire and taking the journey and resting right in that fire. Wow, that is transformation, because all of the work that is done during that time, and you're building, right? Building towards this Aquarius time when everything does start going faster. You do begin transformation. On the first, we reach that halfway point, right? Between winter and spring. And so like we're getting here, and now we're far, as we're coming out of this journey of that inward, taking that time to rest for ourselves, because now after you take that time to rest and you gain all that understanding, you have to do something with it. So now here we are, and we're in that, and it feels sped up. It's only because we've been resting and hibernating, for a minute, but it's time, and it just feels active because we simply are becoming.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And I really feel like it is how we frame our stories, and something that I would love to like really capture you know, um for this class is like, yes, it's connecting to divine wisdom through our ancestors and everything, but even in the world, even in our day-to-day life, how we frame things, our attitude on things make a huge, huge difference. If we keep telling ourselves a story that no longer serves our highest and best, it's gonna attract those moments. It's gonna attract those heavier moments. And heavier moments are always gonna be there,
Mm.
like they're always gonna be there. But when we can frame it to our highest and best, always honoring divine creator, um, always seeing the bigger picture, and and I say always because like obviously we're human.
Right.
Um, but we give ourselves a little bit of a chance when we
Yeah, you got to give yourself space to practice that, and I think it's so important to because
Yeah,
practicing every day, and that's just the thing. Give yourself a break because perfection is not something you're trying to attain. Like who's that? You know, it is just a daily practice. You have to practice sometimes 1,000 times a day, and
yeah,
finding ways that you can give back, and realizing that, like we're talking about oral storytelling, every story you tell, that's why they call it spelling. I mean, it is magical. It does bring energy to things, and it is
yeah,
important. And through this oral storytelling, and as you said, there are things in this life that happen to us, and we have to figure out how to work around them. And part of this, and the reason I wanted to do these things too, is I'm trying to figure out how on my path currently to give outwardly to the world.
yeah.
If you are familiar with me and my story, and I know you are, of course, you will know that my daughter was missing for 7 years, and people have now been arrested, and one person has been charged with her murder. And through this practice, or through this 7 years, nearly 8 now, I've been really looking at the bigger scope of things, from missing people to those who have been human trafficked, of course. And so that's another thing I want to mention too, is every Monday I also do a meditation, and I'm announcing it here first, is at the end of the meditations, I'm going to be sharing a missing person, specifically a missing murdered Indigenous person. I'm working with Native Hope in Chamberlain, South Dakota, and also with For Sarah, who's in Georgia, and she works with human trafficking. And so just
Wow.
doing things, and with my daughter, as things conclude, as this is still an ongoing investigation, as things begin really seeing how I can do things outwardly in the world. So it really is, as you were saying, about the little small things that we can do every day. And through that oral storytelling, like, how do I want to tell, my daughter's story? And what do I want that to look like,
Mm.
going forward? And so these are just beautiful ways I feel that I can give back and share in the deep history, and my child, who is no longer here, and my ancestors who have gone before, and how I can honor them and show up for them, because they honestly, I feel them around me, and they show up for me always.
Every single time you mention your daughter, an image pops into my mind's eye, and it's consistent. Um, and it looks like this constellation in a way, and like it's like her looking down as this beautiful bright constellation, and how she connects to you, and how she connects and still has a mark on this world. um it's really really beautiful and powerful, and it's hard to kind of explain, but at the same time you look up and she's just there,
It's a
you
bridge.
know. Yeah,
It's a
that's
bridge, and
exactly.
and I'm going to say it that way only now because I can't tell you everything, but there is a deep connection between that and what is soon to come. It is a
Wow,
bridge.
wow, wow. But
we're
she
building we're building and even in and that is why I can say that it is a daily practice, because
yeah,
you have to continuously just choose what your life is going to be and what you're going to do, as all these crazy things are happening around us. We
yeah,
can choose how much we want to participate in
yeah,
that. And there is the red road, right? And but that road is as wide as you want to make it, but it is a road of intention.
mm,
And and it's not a road, again, not a road of perfection,
mm.
just a road of intention.
Well, it's about the journey. It really is about the journey rather than the destination. And we often lose sight of that. Um, One thing I love, when I like look into like the different zodiac energies and things like that, is specifically with with Sagittarius, it being a mutable, um, it means like it's okay, like the mutability is that pivot, right? Things come at you, you're able instead of to you dance through it, you you're able to like, okay, let's float over here and sniff the roses, it's never what you expect. It's different than like a fixed sign. Like right now we're in Aquarius season. Aquarius is a lightning bolt, right? It's like it's a very fixed energy. It has a mission, it goes forward, it has a vision. But Sagittarius is very different, you know? It's kind of actually more like a wildfire. Because that being that fire side.
Right. But that's why you got that Capricorn right in the middle of there to be like, you got that fire sign of like, okay, we're sitting in this darkness. We're deciding what we want to do, blah, 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 blah. And that, like, you're getting all this energy, you're building in that sacred quietness. Then you get to Capricorn, though, who's like, how are we going to do it? How are you going to take this seriously? How are you going to put it into play? Like, are you crazy right now? What are you thinking? And then you create that plan during that Capricorn time. And then Aquarius comes and you're like, now it's time to make it happen.
Yep.
And so now you're here. You've arrived and you're launching into outer space. You had your time, you figured out how you wanted to build your rocket. You got serious and you created the plans. Now you got to launch it and see if it works. And this is the things that I do want to say is that yes, life is a journey, and we don't realize that in the creation of things, in the failures, those are the things that you remember at the end of it. That's the journey. That is the actual good stuff. That's the good stuff, because you don't remember the great times that like, oh, that was successful today. You remember the hardship. You remember how much you struggled. You remember what you put into that. And so we have to remember that is the beauty. That is it. That's the stuff. And it's just so important to remember that, because we feel like that's the struggle, but no, that's what helps you to get and become the master, helps you become the the one who can, the educator rather than the teacher rather than the student, I guess I should say.
Spoken like a true Capricorn.
Yeah, I know. Don't get started. Can't forget us.
That's what I love about Capricorn is it is that goat. It is that goat energy that
Greatest of all time. Is that what you're saying? Did you just call me the goat? I mean,
well, that goat, especially when I was talking in my intro classes and stuff like that, the goat can completely detach from the freaking outcome. It just has the mission going forward, and like it's like it wants or done. It is the get shit done of the zodiac.
That's right. Here's the thing. Can I tell you about, I have my own little story about this, but I will throw it in here for a second. About the fuck around to find out. We're always saying that fuck around to find out. We see it in a negative way, but I'm always telling my partner, Chris, we're always talking about this. I'm like, fuck around to find out, but in a different energy. Like, you have to fail. Like, just see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, you've learned why it doesn't work and how to do it better the next time. So we're always like, fuck around and find out. It's a thing. Like, and I stand by it wholeheartedly. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail, or don't even take mistakes or things that don't work out the way you want them to, or whatever this word is. Just don't take it so seriously, because you have to fail in order to know how to succeed. It's just part of the path. And enjoy I know the failure is especially, I mean, sometimes it could be like so trauma filled, the bad shit. But even in that, like, you have to just realizing that it's happening around you, and just finding, sometimes it's just a tiny spark. Sometimes it's like, you're in this, you have to think about, we're talking Sagittarius. This is when seeds are under covers of blankets and ground and dirty leaves. It's like, but life is happening. Like, eggs are being fertilized in these leaves. Like, all this stuff is happening, but you have to, like, you're just this tiny dot, and it just becomes a seed that sprouts roots and starts to grow out of it. And it, even as tiny as you feel as a mustard seed, you will grow, and you will find the pathway, whether you're reaching down or reaching up. And sometimes, and most times, we find it on our knees.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something that you came up or you said brought a couple things through for me. Um One, I have a business coach in Jerusalem. He's my next door neighbor upstairs, and I took like 7 classes at yeshiva doing his business coaching stuff and the words of wisdom he has. One thing that I love that him and his wife do is they have like a failure playlist. And every single time that something just doesn't work out the way that they like, put it out there, they'll put on like another one bites the dust. Like they have like a whole playlist and it's to shake that energy around,
Yeah.
right? And be like, all right, okay, let's not attach to this too long, but we're gonna honor this moment and we're gonna say, all right, and we're gonna move forward. And like one of the like you said the word mistake, right? A mistake. Now, one thing that I can bring in with Sagittarius and also like is like the arrow, right? Sagittarius is the arrow. It's shooting. And some like yes, we want to point it, to where our target is. Like
Right.
look, right there. You know? Sometimes it makes it there and sometimes it goes over, but like Sagittarius is always willing to give it a shot.
Right.
Always willing to pull back and let it go. And as you keep doing that, like Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Sometimes you have to expand your being. That doesn't mean like, because there's a preciseness, there's a precision. But if you don't expand yourself, you're never going to get to that precision.
No, you have to get out of your own way. And I think that's big. Sagittarius's biggest story is like, get out of your own way. I mean, if Sagittarius had a quote, I think that would probably be it. Like, how can you just like, I'll just allow, maybe allowing is a really, and aiming. And it's so funny because you say the arrow and then it just brought me all back to why I'm telling these stories, and the arrow being obviously such an important part of any Lakota story, but really, letting waves of things happen, and really just brought me back to the ghost dance and how you can do things. And I don't know if you know the story, and I'll just tell this very short understanding is that this all began with one person's vision, from one tribe, and reached tribes in the 1800s. There wasn't social media. Reached tribes across the country in order to create a dance that would bring back their ancestors to protect themselves. It was all such a beautiful way of creation, of finding a peaceful way to find your center in the midst of the chaos and the struggles going on around you.
Mm, I love that. And the other key point I want to bring in with that is belief. The belief that they thought it was possible.
Fortitude. 2020 fortitude. And I'm really bringing that energy into this year because, through my practice, and that is, through my practice, I've been trying to, it's been an up and down journey with prayer and in finding what the best path is through everything going on, specifically, with my daughter and things like that. And I think that, you know what, I lost where I was going with it because I would just like got so like stuck in there for a second. So I apologize.
It's
I
okay.
think there's such a deep connection between all of the things and finding center and balance in the midst of chaos. Like it is a choice. You can choose, how oh, I'm so sorry, fortitude. Yeah, because trying to find a way to pray sometimes hasn't been easy, and how to deal with so many different things. Like there's so many different things that go along with everything going on. And specifically getting really quiet, getting really centered, and looking up and finding out that fortitude is really about keeping going in the chaos. That's really what it is, the whole story of fortitude. And I think that it is just a divine opportunity to see yourself in that space of a word maybe you didn't understand. And I think, again, words are spelling. And if you really bring in that energy of that word, if you look it up, if you take that word into your being, if you take that word into your prayer, if you take that word to creator. And as we're talking about too, I just am reminded that, as we're talking about Sagittarius and smoke, and we realized an oral storytelling was done during winter months and at night. And that when we say our prayers, by the fire, and we talk our prayers into the fire, that smoke takes those prayers to creator. So taking that quiet time, taking that prayer time, learning that fortitude isn't just always this outward motion, and realizing that as we're preparing to move into these things that feel like we're energetically moving forward, that we don't always have to go to warrior. And that can really mean walking with our hands in prayer rather than in fists, and just finding a new way to practice, and that we can really allow, as we're walking into this Aquarius season, and you're talking about everything being so chaotic, and the energy moving so forward in a very real way, that you can allow that to happen around you. And it's so as I'm watching you and I'm looking at you, I see, the energy literally in your image moving around you. And so, it is real, and you can just allow and give trust and just keep giving it up to creator. And again, if you have to do it 1,000 times a day, it's a practice that you're never trying to get to the end of, because that means you're the end of is not what you're getting to. You're here for the heartbeat, that movement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. So we did the first class yesterday, crystal gridding, intention setting, and that's really, really important. And as I was kind of I have this journal, I'll tell you about it a little bit, in detail later for those that are listening, watching. But I was going through the questions and that I created for this, and it was how did this intention setting and crystal gridding class allow me to connect to spirit source energy in regards to my intention? I just started to marinate, sometimes it's not necessarily every single word of that question. It's okay, key points, spirit, source energy. First thing that floats in my mind is prayer. And it's sometimes that pivot moment in life when things are swirling around you, like you said, becoming into your center, it's allowing for each moment of connecting with divine creator. And that is an opportunity, even in the midst of the chaos, to say, all right, I'm talking to you. Divine universe, I'm talking to you. And every little action is an opportunity that I can connect deeper with that creator, because it's all around us. And that's what I've been trying to do. I'll have different conversations with beings and, about morning practice. Yes, I would love a traditional morning practice, but sometimes that just doesn't necessarily always work out in my world. It just doesn't. So for me, I notice how important movement meditation has done for me, and how that has actually taught me that I can be in prayer at any moment, at any time, even when I'm talking to someone. I'm constantly, it's the intention though. I can't just say, I'm doing this at this moment, you know, like, and there's not actually something going on. It's actually taking the awareness into that moment every single time I can possibly think of it. And another thing that has also helped me with what's going on in the chaos is communication. I often it's so easy to say, oh, I'm overwhelmed, right? Well, I took it a step further and was like, hey guys, I love to help other beings out and things like that. But I'm just gonna let you know I'm a little overwhelmed right now because there's a lot going on, and I just need some time for my moment for myself. I need to structure this a little bit differently so that I can honor myself and I can honor you. And I've noticed something I'll share that's personal. My dad received that this morning and was like it was absolutely captivating because I know how my dad is Virgo energy to get things accomplished. Also as a Sag rising, so he's always doing. That brain going on of like the circular, thoughts and stuff with that Virgo coming together. And he's like, I do want these specific things accomplished, but I also honor that you have a podcast going on at noon. And um, I don't want you to feel like you're overwhelmed and have a bunch of pressure on you. Let's take a moment. And you know what? The moment that happened, because I said, this is what I need to get accomplished during this time. And I expressed to him the different things. And I said, I have my little buddy staying with me, and I was gonna make sure that he had breakfast. Well, it was interesting. He was actually sleeping. He was completely out. And I said, "Well, Dad, you know what? I actually have a compromise for you. Because you want to get this work accomplished sooner rather than later. If when my buddy wakes up, can you make sure that he gets breakfast and I'll help you with this project now?" And it ended up being an opportunity by me just expressing one thing yesterday, that it was a give and take, that we could work on that relationship and we could expand together.
Right.
And I was just like, whoa, it's that easy. But we often get this fear of like, oh, if I express, I'm letting go and I'm allowing, someone else to see my weakness and all these other different things of like, I don't want to put something else on someone else or whatever. But when we do communicate, which, communication is like led by Mercury, which is, Gemini energy. The complement of Sagittarius is Gemini. So when they work well together is when we do communicate, we can expand together.
Right, exactly. And we always are walking around telling ourselves that it's better to give than to receive, right? This is our, but as we're talking about like traditional things, like that's not a really great way to really look at it, because it's equally as sacred to give as it is to receive, because the gift is nothing without the giver, but it can't be, and the gift is nothing without the person is receiving it, and it is an equal energy exchange. And communication is a gift. Again, it's spelling. So if you are communicating, I'm overwhelmed, and the person you're communicating to hears you, that's a gift, because now they've given you the gift of relief, the gift of love. And I think that is, as we're talking about creator and our opportunity to pray, like that is the gift too, is that as we're struggling and we're going through whatever we're going, and we're sitting here by ourselves crying and screaming and going through it and struggling and just wishing and praying someone would come to save us, that moment that we connect and we pray, and we start having that conversation, hope starts coming, faith starts coming, a different story starts coming to our mind because, you know, you've communicated it and you've given it. And that right there, and it's all a gift. And then if things start to feel even a little bit better, then, you know, you've received something too. You received that gift from spirit. And so I think it just, you give it away and, you know, to get it back, it's an energy exchange, and we can't fight the opportunity to receive.
Mm,
Mm.
mm. I love that. Oh, yes. Um, so I just to kind of put all the pieces together for everyone, I just want to take a few moments to talk about the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series.
Yeah. Oh, is that why we're here? I'm just kidding. I just love to show up and visit with you.
Love it. So for this series, you know, we're walking through a specific model that was created by Chris Witecki in this way. These are actually, this particular flow is ancient, and it's within our numerology. It's within their creator story. You know, from the biblical perspective, and I know there's tons of creation stories, but they all interlink. And so, what we're doing for this particular Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series is tapping into that energy um, of creation, and how do we co-create with our creator. And so we started off already, we're in the bulk of it, with setting the sacred space with Scorpio energy. And what we are moving forward through, since we're at Sagittarius, imagine the sacred space, right, that we've created. The chaotic energies are all around, but we have this boundary, because that boundary allows for the sacredness, what's in here. And then we put the different ingredients in. And what we've done so far is we've put the little spark, the spark of love, of leading with our heart. And that's like where we want to create from, is that heart space. And what we've done by adding to that in that space is adding a second energy, which is Cancer, which is connecting with the vibration, our feelings. Feelings are vibrations, and connecting that to the soul and finding some type of a rhythm. So we're expanding that heart space and bringing and linking that heart and soul together. And then now we get to where we're at now, is as we've connected with that space of heart and soul, we're connecting our belief system. And that's Sagittarius, because that belief system is going to expand us, because we've started with our heart and we have expanded it to our soul. And so we'll keep going along this journey. And we have different classes, online, and in person. And Sherri is our in-person Sagittarius teacher. As we've talked about, we're going to be exploring the Lakota traditions with storytelling. One thing we didn't mention is we're going to have a little cacao ceremony, and bringing us back into that heart space. Because just because we've walked through a specific energy already, well, that means it's a part of us now. And so it's also remembering it and going back to it, and remembering Cancer and going back into the soul. So it's always a part of us as we keep moving through this journey. And I mentioned this briefly to help us with this journey and to really go deeper, is this journal. There we go, which is the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series journal for 2024. And it has our schedule of when classes are. It has everything you need to know about the series. and it has catered questions towards every single class, both online and in person, specific questions addressing what we're doing and helping us go deeper. And that can be purchased on Amazon, anywhere around the world, for $22. And I worked so hard and diligently on this to create a beautiful experience. Um, and then you can check everything out on energyspeaksbycatriel.com. You can go to classes and see the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series, and it'll take you in two different directions. You can go to the in person, where you can see this lovely being's face, and you can go on to the online and check out what's going on there. And within the in person, you'll be able to check out the practitioner, like Sherri, all of her information, how you can connect with her, what's going on, in her world. Like she's mentioned, she's doing different classes, storytelling events, which we'll touch upon briefly after to go in a little bit more detail so you have all the information on here. But you can do this with every practitioner. And then the second is the locations. You can find out where we can go for every single location. For our location, it is a private location. So the address is not going to be on there. So when you do go on to get your tickets, you can click on the event, which takes us. I'll touch upon this first. So we have that location section, and then underneath that is our classes, and it tells you all about the class, the description, and everything, and the scope of the class and the bigger picture. It's always good to have a micro and macro. And then we have a separate section in the website, which is events. You can access that on the online and the in-person classes, like tracks. Or you can just go simply to the event and click on the event. It'll bring a calendar up. It will have every single event step by step of who's coming first and everything. And so for Sherri, you would click on Sagittarius in-person class, and you can purchase your tickets there. It's by donation. And the other thing we wanted to mention is if you'd like to exchange, bring some food to the event to nourish our beings and ground in this beautiful energy. That is definitely something that is welcomed. Is there anything else you want to speak about for this specific class? And then I'll give the dates and everything.
Sure. Just that I'm going to be welcoming everyone to my home. We have 8 acres of property here, a beautiful pond, although it will be evening. It is protected wetlands here, and I'm just really excited to share our space and to have people be able to come here and just experience. It's just really a beautiful place, and I'm just really excited to share this. And yes, if you would like to bring food, anything that you feel calls you, it's going to be very quiet. Bring blankets, whatever makes you feel comfortable, and yeah, just really sharing some sacred space and some time. And I'm also going to be creating my own little event with it, because I'm going to be adding some things so people, because of your practice, you'll be getting here a little bit later in the day. But I am going to be doing some things maybe prior to you coming, just so people really can enjoy, a little bit more time here.
Brilliant, thank you. Can I mention the
where to find me?
City?
Oh,
Well,
I'm in
the
Odessa,
city,
Florida. Yeah,
so
I'm in
that we
Odessa,
know that.
Florida. So, like I said, I'm from South
Yeah.
Dakota, so I had to try to find the most country, outside place. So we're in Odessa, Florida, which is the country and really the wild woods, and that's where
Is
you
that
can find me.
Hillsboro?
It is. We are in Hillsborough. It is right. We're right at the Hillsborough Pasco County line, but we live in Hillsborough County.
Okay, cool. It gives a little bit of like if somebody's planning, oh, I want to go to the class, it gives them a location of like, oh, okay, I can kind of set that in my mind of the
Yeah,
area.
we are near Trinity, Tampa area. I always give Chris a hard time. Again, from where I'm from, I say we're not going to town all weekend. So if you need anything, you better grab it. Not realizing that Tampa is literally around the corner.
It's great.
Yeah.
And that in our class together is, let's see here, Saturday night, February 17th, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Is that correct?
That is the correct time for our event together, but
For
I'm
our
going to be
event.
bringing people. Yeah, I'm going to be bringing people out earlier than that. And if you want to
Mhm.
find that event, I'm on Facebook at Wildwoods Goods, and I'm in the process of building my website just for this event so that people can find me a little bit easier. So I'll hopefully have my
Brilliant.
website up and get that link to Catriel by the weekend.
Brilliant. Okay. You'll have more details on that coming soon. And again, that is donation based and bring food if you like.
Yeah.
um I'm just so excited for what we are creating together. Um and I'm I'm excited to see where it goes because we're creating worlds right now, creating pathways, and we're all connecting together. And so, thank you so much for coming on to for this podcast. I'm just so excited.
I'm so excited too. And thank you for helping me to step into the ability to use my voice in ways that can, really do amazing things. Thank you. I really appreciate you not only here, but as being my dear, dear friend.
Same, Mer, Mer. That's my energetic name, Mer. All right. And I want to say thank you to all of you, divine, beautiful souls, for listening and watching Energy Speaks podcast for the Zodiac Energy Empowerment Series. This is Catriel and Sherri, over and out.